Hi, welcome to Bari Nation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hey Bari Nation, it's April. We know that movement can be one of the hardest pillars to implement in our life. We've either never moved before or we just don't know where to start. Well, we have something special just for you. In September, we are launching our Moving and Groovin' 30-Day Movement Challenge with our friend and long-term member, Rob Domidio, the owner of Busy Bariatrics. He and his team have put together an amazing challenge that will be accessible to anybody. If your goal is to move 10 minutes a day, or if you're ready to build in some resistance style training, either with dumbbells or with your body weights, his team has put together a 30-day program that we can move through together. Join our email list, follow this podcast, and follow us on social media if you would like to know more about this challenge, or join the Bari Nation membership community and get ready to move and groove with us in September. Just go to barination.mn.co to become a member today. All right, friends. Welcome back to the Bari Nation podcast. We had another excellent question that came in from a community member, and we're excited to share our response to this. Each have answered this question individually in the Bari Nation membership community. So if you'd like a bit of a deeper dive into our take on our answer to this question, we invite you to join us in that space in the Bari Nation membership community. Just head to barination.mn.co and join us and get access to all of these. But this question really is a profound one. It's one that I think we have all thought about or struggled with or worked through. And the question from our member was, will my, quote, lightning bolt moment ever arrive? And the person that submitted this is in the pre-op process, and they really are worried about having doubts or worry or fears going into surgery. And their perception is that everybody that goes through surgery, everybody that has surgery is 100% committed, and they know this is exactly what they need to do, right? And everything is going to be great, and just like no worry whatsoever. And we are here to say, the three of us didn't have that. We did not have. If only, right? If only we had this like boom, lightning bolt moment. So today's conversation is our answer to this question. And this is from our live patient experience. But hopefully you will leave this conversation maybe being able to like take a breath, exhale, right? Take a pause and be like, okay, it's not crazy that I'm going into surgery, not 100% like sure that this is going to work. So Jason, we'll start with you, then Nat, and then I'll give my take.
There absolutely was no lightning bolt moment pre-op where I was just like, this is it. Like, this has got to be the one. Like, woo! I tried to get up from the table like the morning. Like, I was trying to get up out of the bed. I was scrubbed in, ready to go, and I got up and was like, yeah, I'm going to go get some breakfast and head to the house. Like, so that tells you how much of a lightning moment, how secure in my decision I was. I knew that there needed to be a change made because I had tried literally everything else. I'd been through every diet you could imagine, all the things, tried the drops, the potions, the elixirs, the everything you could imagine, Herbalife, you name it, I had done it. And it just, none of it worked. And I knew that if there was anything out there that was going to be the change that I needed, it was going to be this. And so if I've tried everything else, why not try this too? I was more confident in this than I was in the other things I had tried because it was more of a permanent situation. So I will say, if any kind of lightning bolt moment hit me, that was probably it. Was just thinking that it's better to try this than to not. It's kind of one of those you miss 100% of the shots you don't take kind of things. So for me, I was like, if I've tried everything else, why wouldn't I at least try this too? Like, so I did not go into it confident 100% because I don't know that any of us do. We may be confident that this is the decision that we've made, but I will not say that all of us are just like, it's going to work 100%, never going to fail, nothing's going to go wrong, everything's going to be great. Like, I don't know that anybody just kind of plows through head for it. And if they do, high five to them, because that's resolve that I just don't have. So but yeah, that's probably the long and short of it on my end, is that I just don't know anybody that has been that secure in it.
And you talked about that in an earlier episode, Jason, another question that we answered from the community, right? And you had said, like, I just got to this point where I knew this was what I needed to do. It's not that you weren't scared or worried or nervous or any of that stuff, but you kind of reached this point of no return where it's just like, I have literally tried everything else. Nothing has worked. And I am desperate to get this figured out, right? I went into surgery. I think a lot of people do too. You go into it saying, I'm just desperate to finally lose weight and to have it be gone forever. After surgery, we know that it's way more than weight, but that's right. That's a different conversation. That's a different part of the bariatric journey. But you just reach this inflection point where you're just like, I just can't keep doing it. I can't keep living this way. And I have literally tried everything else. This is the one thing that I haven't tried. Right. So I think a lot of ways, that's the lightning bolt moment. It's not this complete lack of worry or fear. It's that your desire to live differently, to lose the weight outweighs finally, or becomes more powerful, more strong than continuing to live the way that you're living. Right? Awesome. Nat, what about you?
Very similar to Jason. I feel like surgery day, I was a wreck. Well, actually, I wasn't supposed to have my surgery that day. It was supposed to be the day after. I was just going in for my CT scan. And when I was dropped back off, they said, oh, by the way, you might have surgery today. We'll call you. And I was like, instant panic attack, started crying. What do you mean I had another day? I mean, truly, like, what does another day matter, right? So I was freaked out. We talk about this lightning bolt moment, though, I think, and we talked about this a little bit before we recorded, that I really had two moments. The first one was pre-op. When I signed up for surgery, was given all of my requirements for my pre-op diet. My, kind of my red tape was told to me of like, if you don't lose the 50 pounds, you're not going to have surgery. I paid a deposit. So it really was a lightning bolt of like, I'm just going to freaking do this. And I did it. I lost the weight. I did all the things I needed to do. I had the surgery. And then it really wasn't until 2 years later, being in Barry Nation, being on the podcast, having April and Jason as friends, talking and realizing this is forever. This is a lifelong commitment. My health has to be number one. And so that was the second lightning bolt moment of I'm going to get on my meds. I'm going to, attend Barry Nation support groups. This is my life, and this has to be important and has to be a priority. And those really were the two pivotal, I guess, lightning bolt moments for me, where it was a non-negotiable. We're just going to make this happen. But neither of those were the day of surgery. Neither of those were, going to the hospital or signing the paperwork. They had to give me Ativan while I was signing paperwork. I was terrified. I was scared. And members have shared with us in the community too, just do it scared. Just do it scared. Because the lightning bolt moment is not, more than likely, is not going to be the day that you enter the hospital for surgery.
Yeah. No. And it is scary, right? Undergoing surgery is scary. It's terrifying, right? We know that we are making a choice to live our life in a way that we've never lived it before. And it just feels like every cell in our body is asking us to not change, because where we live now, even though is extremely uncomfortable, is more comfortable than living in the unknown, right? It's like you're literally getting on a rocket ship and you are going to Mars. It's like, you ain't ever coming back. That is terrifying. That is terrifying. But again, as we've described, you reach this point in your life where like, I have to do something different. Otherwise, I'm going to die sooner rather than later. This is going to kill me. You just don't want to live that way anymore. You were so tired of battling this disease. And I think when all three of us went into surgery, we didn't have this disease model to work from, right? We just thought we were fat. We thought we were doing something wrong, right? But you just reach this point where you're like, I'm out of energy to give to this, and I need something else, right? Like you just realize, like, I don't have what I need to fight back. And that is that lightning bolt moment that I think the three of us are talking about, right? This point. And that was mine too. I just realized I had done everything that I possibly could do. I had done it all right and nothing had worked, and I needed to do something different. So that was my lightning bolt moment where I committed to surgery. And every time that little voice in the back of my head started chirping loud or screaming at me, I just talked back to it. And I was like, I get that you are scared. I get that you are mad. I get that you're angry. I'm doing this anyways. We are doing this anyways. You're not going to be able to talk me out of this because I have made my decision. So talk all you want, do whatever you want to say. And granted, I'm talking to myself here. So if you think I'm being crazy, yeah, right. Like that was literally what was going on up here. I would just talk back to it and I would say, great, we're still having surgery. We're still having surgery. We're still having surgery. But I think my real lightning bolt moment came about 3.5 years post-op. And it was in the stage that we in Barry Nation call the commitment. And it's this fork in the road moment where we realize, okay, I can either go back to living life as I lived before surgery, or I can commit to being a bariatric patient for the rest of my life. If I make the decision to go back and live as I was before, I know what is ahead for me. That's familiar. I've lived there, been there, done that, right? It's like going back and living in an old apartment or an old house. I understand that. Making the commitment to live your life as a bariatric patient means you are committing to a life of kind of the unknown, because every step of the way is going to be something new, right? It's a new tool. It's a new realization. It's new treatment. It's everything is new. And it's a very unfamiliar landscape. But for me, when I reached that fork in the road moment, that was my lightning bolt moment. That was when I realized, oh my God. And I only got there. And I think all three of us have done this, all three of us. We only got to this fork in the road decision because we did live our life as we used to before surgery. We literally were like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. And we just stopped being bariatric patients and we lived our life exactly as we did before. But what we realized when we did that is that old life is no longer comfortable, right? We didn't find the release. We didn't find the relief. We didn't find that euphoric, like, oh, it didn't exist, right? Because how we lived was no longer comfortable. And for me, I got to this really dark place and it was like, oh my God, no matter where I look, no matter where I turn, no matter what I do, I can't find comfort. And that was my lightning bolt moment. And that was kind of my aha. And it was like, oh, okay. So if I actually want to find comfort again, I have to live my life in a completely different way. I need to find comfort in the new. That was my lightning bolt moment. That was when I knew I would always be a bariatric patient. And that was when I committed to always figuring it out. So no matter what was ahead for me, I was going to figure it out. I was going to onboard the tools. I was going to connect with the experts. I was going to lean into community. I was going to find the answer. That was the lightning bolt moment for me.
Yeah, I would say my post-op lightning bolt moment would have been when I adjusted my mindset on this journey is the rest of our life. You know, because that's a scary thing to think about when you're like, I have to change forever. And then the flip side of that is, oh, you mean I have forever to figure this out? Cool. When you know, that gives you a lot more sand in that hourglass and it makes it way less of a mountain to climb. Because when you realize that it's not something you have to do in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, you don't have to be fluent in, a foreign language you've never learned before in 8 months. Mm-hmm. Like you can legitimately, like it takes you the rest of your life to get it figured out. And that's okay. Some people are going to get it figured out in a few years, and that's awesome. High five to those people. Some of us, it's going to take a little bit longer, and that's okay because it's not a race. This truly is the definition of it is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
because you will marathon for the rest of your life. Like, this journey ends when you're done. When you're no longer here, that's when the journey's over. So you have that amount of time to figure it out.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy about this journey and this conversation, right? Is that before and after surgery, we actually say the same thing, right? But it's with a different inflection and it's with a different lens. Because before surgery, we're like, oh my God, I'm going to live like this forever, right? You get so depressed. You get so bummed because you're like, I'm going to be fat forever. I'm going to be obese forever. I'm never going to figure this out, right? You say, oh my God, this is forever. And you are desperate to not have it be forever. But then after surgery, you say the exact same thing. You're like, oh my God, this is forever. I have to do this forever. And you're like, what? But I wanted to get out of that forever. And now that I'm in this forever, I don't want this. You're like, this makes no sense. This makes no sense whatsoever.
And you know what's interesting, as you were talking, April and Jason, the thought came to my head where it's not really lightning bolt moments necessarily. To me, it's like little, I'm going to use the lightning metaphor, but it's almost like little zaps. Like, do you want to do this forever? Are you sure? And it's like, yeah, I do, I think. But you have to stop and you have to think, do I want to do this forever? But we have these little zaps, I think, throughout our time after surgery or when we make the decision to have the surgery. And one that came to my mind in April, I didn't take it bad, even though it sounded at the time. We were at the first bariatric retreat, and that was in the midst of I'm not going to bariatric anymore. I'm going to have fun. I was eating things not on plan. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was consuming things. I mean, it was kind of balls to the wall. I was going crazy because I felt good for the first time in my life. I was around all my friends that I was all the way up here. And you straight up looked at me and said, you need to get it together. And that to me was a little zap of like, oh, and I couldn't process it in the moment because we were getting ready. We were there for the first time as Barry Nation. I mean, it was like big stuff, so I get it, right? But I remember on the flight home kind of thinking like, wow, why was I so far off where I wanted to be? And it's those little zaps that we get throughout our journey that test us and question us and what we're doing so that we can continue or not. Like April said, I can choose to continue my journey or I cannot. I know what both feel like. But a lot of times, more often than not, because I have the support of my friends, the Barry Nation support community, I have my tool, I know that I can continue on. But I do get those little zaps every once in a while of like, hey, this isn't on plan. Are you sure you want to keep going? If not, that's cool, but you got to figure it out. And those are the moments for me that have been more impactful in a way than those big, like cinematic light bolt moments of change and huge things. It's actually these little zaps throughout the journey that I'm like, oh, that was pretty pivotal.
I appreciate you saying that. And part of this person's question, right, it was a much larger question, but we just distilled it down into that one sentence. But what this person was saying is that, I look on social media and I see all of these grand, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And no, like 1,000% committed and all this kind of stuff. Well, we're seeing what people want us to see. We're seeing what people are projecting, but that's not actually reality, right? Reality is this conversation. Reality is being able to connect with other patients in real time and just go, okay, I'm thinking this. Is anybody else thinking this, right? And you are so spot on because it really is these little, I love that term, right? It is zaps. We can have zaps, we can have big lightning bolts, but it isn't going to necessarily be the way that somebody else is portraying it. It's going to come in the most weird moments. It's going to come from places you didn't expect. It could be a little harsh, like how my delivery usually is. It could be softer than that. Yeah, they're laughing because they know and I don't mean to do it, but I just ask questions and people cry. I mean, I tend to get to the point. I ain't got time for fluff. Just
it was pointed, but I knew, and this also, you have to remember, I had only met April in person one other time. Prior to this, this was the most time at the moment that we had ever spent with each other. This was like the beginning of our friendship, really. And at first I was kind of like, ooh. And then I was in my brain, I went, but she's right. But she's not wrong. And that's the thing, is you need friends, you need those zaps of reality to bring you back of like, I haven't been living my bariatric life the way I want to. Why is that? How can I get back on track? But yeah, it truly, for anyone listening or who is just meeting us for the first time, it was not a malicious thing. It was truly just like hey, you need to get yourself in check because we're about to like enter a room of people who look up to us as bariatrics go and all of this. So it was not malicious in intent.
No. Well, and we've all had those moments with each other, right? Because it's okay to not be on plan. It's okay to stray. It's okay to not want a bariatric anymore. My love and appreciation and respect for you does not change at all in the moment. But if you come to me and you tell me, I want to commit to the bariatric life, okay, then when you're not, I'm going to call. I mean, you guys have done that to me. You guys literally had to drag me away from my computer and phone to go on a damn vacation so I could just reconnect with myself. You guys have checked me, right? Jason, we've all had these moments where we have been able to go to each other and go, something is not right because you've told me one thing, but you are doing something completely different. So what's up? Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I look at a lot of those, like we were talking about the social media things where people see people that appear to be 100% committed. And I look at those more like affirmations, like they're speaking it into existence. They're trying to convince themselves as much as they're trying to convince the rest of Instagram or Facebook or wherever. And that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but at the same time, like you have to take it at face value. Like social media is what it is. They're going to show you the bright and shiny. They want to show you the things. They want to look like they're 100% committed. And that could be for family. That could be for friends. That could be for coworkers. That could be for, they're putting it out there like, I got this. I'm not worried about nothing. Like, don't worry about me. I'm just going to go have my surgery and be great. And that's fantastic if that's what you're trying to do, hyping yourself up, because we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all had things we've had to psych ourselves up for. And that's honestly the way I had to start looking at those types of things so that I don't compare myself to somebody else.
Dude, I'm so thankful you said that. My brain would have never gone there, but you are 1,000% right. Also, too, what a really kind lens to look at this through, because it releases us from that comparison. It releases us from like judgment and shame. And it's a way for us to I guess, just kind of like let people be and turn the lens back on us, right? Because then the question could be, what affirmation, what do I need to tell myself to be loving and kind to myself to get me through this very scary thing?
And I think it too comes down to, what do I want? Right? What do I want out of this journey? What do I see on social media that I want? Because a lot of times I think we see those things and we go, man, it'd be great if I had abs and got plastics and did all these things. But again, what did it take them to get there? Do I actually want to do those things? Or do I just enjoy the idea of having those things?
Well, and dude, talk about a real lightning bolt moment, right? Because what you really want out of your bariatric journey is going to change along the journey. Every time you reach kind of this new destination, to be able to ask yourself this question, what do I really want out of this? What do I really want out of my bariatric surgery, out of the treatment of the disease? What do I want out of my life? And that answer to that question is going to be your lightning bolt moment, because that could be the moment when you realize, I really want to be able to have this mobility. I really want to have this emotional freedom. I really want to be able to do this, right? I really want to not be connected to my scale, right? Like, I want this to be more than what I weigh. That is actually your lightning bolt moment. When you answer your own question about what you truly want out of your journey, where you are now. Because what you want when you started is not going to be what you want 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 20. I mean, like, it's going to change, and it's supposed to change.
I just want to add too, I know we talk a lot about like the non-scale things, the health, the mental health, all of those things are super important. If you want to have a certain body type and you want to be strong and have muscles, that is okay. Both are good. I just wanted to preface that or say that because I know we do talk a lot about non-scale victories and things like that. Scale victories are fine. Those are good. Body victories are good. If you want to look a certain way, that's cool. But really, I guess my point was like really understanding, do you want to go through the process? Are you willing to go through the process of what it takes to get there? Is that actually something you want? Or is it something that you like the idea of? Because that's something I had to ask myself.
It is very profound and it is very powerful, right? Is this something that I really want, or is this something that I think I want? Or is this something that I want because I see other people having it? And then that second follow-up question is, am I willing to do what is needed and necessary to reach that?
And if the answer is no, don't beat yourself up about it, because
Yeah.
we've all thought about having washboard abs and doing all the things. It sounds fantastic, looks awesome on a magazine, in a movie. But when you realize what it takes to eat to get there and the work it takes, you may be committed to doing that. And that's awesome. You may figure out along the way that that might not be exactly what you wanted. And that's okay too. Like, there's no reason to say that you failed or beat yourself up and say, well, I thought I could do it, but I can't. It's just a difference in what you want. Like, do you need that to sustain and live a happy, healthy life? No. Could it possibly make you happier than you are right now? Maybe. But you just got to put the work in to find out.
Yeah. Man. Well, this often happens when the three of us just get together, right? We start going down one direction and then you realize you end up in a completely different one, which is kind of a great metaphor for the bariatric journey. But we hope you're leaving this conversation with a better understanding of what those lightning bolt moments are, the importance of the zaps along the way, and that taking the time to answer the questions that you're asking yourself is how you get to exactly where you want to go. And I think the other thing we hope you leave here with, also knowing from this conversation, is that it's okay if you're going into surgery not 100% sure. It's okay if you're going into surgery scared, angry, worried, all of those things. It's also okay if you're going in excited and filled with happiness and joy and hope for the future. All of those emotions are allowed to exist in your preoperative stage, and they absolutely have space in your postoperative stage. But taking the time to check in with yourself along the way, to acknowledge the lightning bolt moments, to acknowledge the zaps, and to celebrate them is really key to this journey. And if you, right, and if you are looking for a space to have those conversations, this conversation with other people, we invite you to join us in the Bari Nation membership community. We literally built a safe place for bariatric patients to have these types of conversations, and we would love to see you there. Thanks, friends. Hey, Bari Nation, it's April. We just want to pause here and take a moment to thank our amazing Patreon supporters and Bari Nation members. This is predominantly a member and listener supported show. You are the one that is keeping the lights on this podcast. Every single month, these people contribute to ensure that this amazing support continues to not only help them, but help millions of people around the globe who are suffering from the disease of obesity. If you want to add your voice to this podcast, join us by becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber or a member of our community. To support monthly on Patreon, head to patreon.com/BariNationPodcast, or to join us in the community, go to barination.mn.co. We would be so thankful and honored to have your help and support as we continue to grow this amazing Bari Nation podcast. That wraps up another empowering episode of the Bari Nation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the Bari Nation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at barination.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at barinationpodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.